Thank you for being here. This conversation is going to be pretty short. I know that we're far in terms of time and everything. So, like the video rightly said, Ruth Kadiri is someone I admire a lot. I'm in awe of her. She started her YouTube journey, or her making journey on YouTube, I think about 5 years ago, right? She currently has her English channel at 3.5 million subscribers. Now, if you know what that means on YouTube terms, it's a lot. She also has a French channel that has 1.3 million, right? So she is basically expanding. But if I look at pure numbers, when you start looking at the growth, on an average, her movies get like 2, 3, 4 million views, and she drops a movie every week, right? So for someone who has been doing this for 5 years, Ruth, what did you really understand about this digital audience? What trends did you see that made you pivot very fast to online streaming and distribution when a lot of filmmakers were still focused on traditional channels?
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me here. And I am so happy to be in your midst this evening. Sorry, Tutu, before I answer your question. I've always thought that, I'm just deviating a bit. I've always thought that it's very important for PR companies. I'm saying it as an individual who's into entertainment and who basically requires the help of a PR person. I know that I can afford to get one, but I've refused to get one for the longest because a part of me understands that this is a process that requires whoever I will be working with to love me. And and listening to her speak, I'm like, yes, this is somebody that I pray that Onyema eventually finds her. The job will be easy. You know, I spoke with a lady, and then we were like, someone very big, and we were talking about blah, 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 blah. And when we finished, and I'm like, Mama, do you love me? And she was like, I don't understand. And I said, I think that this journey is more than a business relationship. It's a partnership that requires you to genuinely love me, love my madness, love my lies, love everything about me, for you to be able to represent me and put me out there in a way that people will love me. Whatever you put out there is a reflection of how you're going to feel about me. And I'm not going with anybody that doesn't care about me. Leave me brandless until I find the one. So I am so happy, so happy to be in your midst this evening. I believe I found the one, and that's why I'm sitting here, and I'm so happy. Thank you very much. Now to your question. What was it?
What did you see in the future that made you start thinking about digital streaming and distribution? What trends, what habits, when other players were still very traditional media focused? And when I say traditional, cinema or you solely shifted your focus to YouTube as a streaming platform for distribution, even when you weren't even sure if the monetization prospects made sense?
Truthfully, I think I wanted to be different. I really don't like going with the crowd. Like, anywhere the crowd is, I'm not interested because I feel like I can't compete. So I wanted to be different, but it was a different kind of different. It wasn't something that a lot of us gave attention to. And aside that, there's classism in the industry. Everybody feels like a part that they are familiar with, they have basically structured. It is the upper class and the nobodies. There's no middle class. So seeing that it's an industry that we've not veered into, and then the platform was more for music and songs and all that, I felt like our colleagues or family and friends did not or were not going to have value for it. But I didn't care because I knew there was a market there. And I knew that I had the ability to sustain it because I am the kind of person that when I start something, I have the power to finish it regardless of whether I'm failing or succeeding. I wanted to be different. That's why I veered into it. And here we are.
Well done. Okay, challenges. What challenges have you faced in this journey, thinking digital first, right, for film distribution? And what strategic or creative insights have you sort of used to overcome?
Challenges. There's so many challenges, but when we started, The first thing was uncertainty about return on investment, because it was not a business model that we already had. So now, how much am I going to invest in terms of production? How do I find the right audience who are going to watch it? Are they going to like it? And how do I find a team that loves the job enough? Because the business is a long-term business. You might not know.
Yeah.
Once you get in there, there's no stopping. So finding the right team, understanding budgeting and costing, so that I'm not overgiving, and in order to be able to continue, and also the uncertainties that lies with return on investment. Yeah.
Interesting.
These are some of the challenges that I had, that I think I really don't talk about, but we're here.
Fantastic. How many people have watched a movie on YouTube? Ever? A local movie, a Nigerian movie? How many people have watched anything on Ruth Kadiri's TV? Okay, so you have some people in-house saying yes. Okay, so Ruth, you drop a movie. I discussed this thing with you. It's bonkers. I don't know how people produce movies every week, right? But you drop a movie every Thursday, and you have a full-blown production team that supports that in helping your journey. What are some of the key things and investment that has helped you think about distribution? Like, how do you put your team together? How do you put that structure together? Things that you do that makes it easier for you to have a consistent, flow of content on a regular basis. How are you able to do that and monetize it effectively? Because I feel one of the key challenges, there's a lot of filmmakers that have come to YouTube and other platforms recently, but one of the key challenges is it's not just distribution. How do I monetize effectively? Right? I'm putting together this whole production cast. I'm working with actors that are demanding some huge amount of money. Like, how are you able to do that?
So I think generally, one of the major problems we have in our industry is distribution, the cinemas and everything. When I came into, I wasn't the one that started putting my movies on YouTube. There were people that were doing it before me, but their strategy was a path that I didn't want to follow. They would upload one movie. In order to make their money, they would have like 20 channels and give the same movie 20 different titles. And I felt like it was the level of acceptance I wanted for YouTube, I wasn't going to get it if I went through that route. So I asked myself, how do I monetize? The beautiful thing about YouTube is that you see your back end, and you see where people are watching from, and you realize that it's not just Nigerians that watch. Isles of Man, Canada, Australia, and some other countries. And I'm like, okay, so instead of turning one movie into 20 movies, why don't I push my movies further down into the world to expand, to show people what Nollywood is about? My mom watches Bollywood, Indian movies, people flying on a broom, and it doesn't make sense to me, but they are watching it, so I just decided, okay, let's give it a try. Let's start with the French audience and see how, and oh my God. In no second, I was like, why didn't I think about this earlier? And that's how we're also going to keep expanding. And sometimes when people say, how do you make movies every week? That's like a lot. I'm like, pastors preach every Sunday. You go to work every day. Why is my own different? There are people that will cuss me out in my DMs if I go a week without dropping a content. And there's so many, I feel like the industry is, the business is big enough to contain us as long as we're creative about it genuinely. YouTube is a vast platform that you can use. So it looks like there's an influx of content right now. The reason it's looking that way is also because a lot of people are not thinking, trying to do something different. The world is big. We've not even, scratched the surface. So understanding that I have my audience that I have to feed, I have to satisfy. I'm not looking at what any other person is doing is key. And I keep thinking about how do I keep evolving globally, distributing the same content, which is the beauty of it, the same content to a larger audience. That's how we keep pushing, and hopefully we're going to be able to get to where we hope to get to.
Fantastic. You mentioned... Okay, so for many people who understand how YouTube works and who are familiar with the analytics back end, so there's something called your YouTube studio. And within your YouTube studio, you're able to see where your audience is coming from, right? Where you're distributing and where they're watching from. With your back end, you've done quite a number of movies that have been really local to Nigerian culture. You've done, what's that one with the historical films, the one with the village people, what do you call
Epic.
them? Epic movies, you've done all of those. But you've been able to distribute to markets that are maybe not familiar with Nigerian culture and our nuances. Like, how do you find the right balance to tell stories that have universal appeal? Because I think that's one of the key challenges when it comes to film distribution. Unlike with music, we were in France. Yeah. We could hear Ashake in the background. They might not understand what he's saying, but people were bumping to it. How can our movie sort of grow and sort of scale into multiple markets, creating universal appeal?
Okay, so there are certain languages that are universal. Love is one of them. Also, like I said, that's why it seems like a lot of people are telling the same kind of stories. But I think, I don't know if they know, it's a universal language, sex. Not explicitly, but when you talk about sex, sometimes people like it. Also, cultural differences. Countries like Sweden, Norway, when they are fighting, it seems like they are communicating, like it's a full-blown war. But you hear two people saying, like they can't relate to why you are shouting. You know, so I know these things because I start to study other people's culture and start to understand why it works. So sometimes when we're filming and an actor is screaming, I'm like, no, please don't scream. Don't scream. They're not going to understand. So these are ways that we're inculcating other people's cultures in terms of, like, in our stories to make it understandable and not so much of a torture to them. And the truth is, Africa and we Nigerians, we have so many stories that are so relatable. You have no idea. So many stories that strangers will watch as long as they're not getting things like you screaming. And, you know, there are also certain, okay, for instance, child protection. Here, you give a child a knock with one slap and push the child out of the door. The person who's watching it will not sleep. Like, how? You know, some of these things. So when you're telling certain stories, you have to find a balance, understanding that you're not just exporting to Nigerians. It's a universal project, and some people might not just understand that it's your culture. So some of these things I'm aware of, some of these things I inculcate, and I am still learning.
Fantastic. Okay. So I'll do the quick fire questions before I go into my final questions. In one word, what's the future of Nollywood?
Progressive.
In one word, what's the future of Nollywood?
Yeah, we're progressing.
Okay. Popcorn or plantain chips when you're watching a film?
Popcorn.
If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Well done, Ruth.
Yeah. Fantastic. Beyond filmmaking, what hidden talent do you have and what that might surprise people?
Well, I don't know if that's a talent, but I see. Yeah.
You sing?
No, I see. Like, I can see the future.
Please, who has a question about the future for Ruth? She's sitting right in front. What's Nigeria going to look like next year? Oh, Sporting Bet, Jimmy. Yes, it's true. Those numbers. When you have a creative block, what's your one thing you do when you have a creative block?
Well, I just shut down sometimes, but I think when I'm trying to get something and I think long and hard enough about it, like, I just keep it somewhere at the back of my mind, and I just keep thinking about it, and then boom, it comes.
Okay, this question is not on part of this one, but just in terms of what's happening now with the rise of artificial intelligence and we were talking about the YouTube monetization policy and all of that kind of things happening. Do you see Nollywood adopting more new technology in the future?
Yeah, I think so. I am doing that already, and I am Nollywood. Mm-hmm. I believe that, I know that AI is the future. So I think so. We're very smart people, too.
Very smart people. Okay, so final question is, what's the future of African filmmaking generally? What do you think? So you see the future, please. This has to be very, very predictive. What do you think is going to change, especially when we think about the rise of digital platforms, emerging technologies, and what role do you see Ruth Kadiri playing in this?
Tutu, you have asked me 4 questions in one now. Okay. Can we take it one after the other?
So what's the future of films of African film storytelling?
Well, I think we can do better. We have beautiful opportunities, and I wish that we would grab it because we're very creative people. But I feel like sometimes we're afraid of expressing our creativity, doing something different, and in difference lies the success of whatever we lay our hands to do. So thrive to be different, and then we will all get to where we want to get to.
And what's your role in all of this?
My role is my own personal role. It's my own individual personal role is building myself, growing, achieving my targets for the next 10 years, which I have personally laid down. And yeah, becoming a better version of where I am today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ruth Kadiri. It's an honor having this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.